we've probably heard for at least, 5 or 6 months now due to COVID, that this is a world of opportunity, right? There is opportunity everywhere. And, whatever, there's a Chinese word that's a double meaning and it's crisis. We've heard it all, right? We've heard it all. And I'm sure most people hear that and think, great, but how does it work? What does it look like? Or how can I play a part in taking advantage of these opportunities? And so what I thought I would do is basically distill down the 7 areas that you can look to right now, regardless of budget, right? This doesn't matter whether you've been in business 1 minute, and you turn over $1, or whether you're doing 100 million. It doesn't really matter where you are on the spectrum. I want to bring something that will actually allow you to be part of this transfer of wealth that we keep hearing about, but also, practically just scale up your business. So we're going to run through the seven places that you can look to right now to take advantage of the opportunity that presents itself due to COVID-19. All right, so the first place we're going to look at, we'll just number these and I'll write them down. The first place you should look at is marketing. Obviously, one of my passions is marketing. The reason why I say right now that it's important is because a lot of the platforms that we would use as a go-to to build the leads and the prospects and the inquiries for our business have actually become substantially cheaper now than they were pre-COVID, right? So if I think about something like Google Ads, Google Ads is an amazing platform. It's the best type of business in the world. They're the hottest leads. It's intent-based marketing where people are opening a browser of their own volition, typing in your products and services, and you can put an ad in front of them and drive them to your website, right? There's a few caveats to get this to work. One of them is you need a good website. So if your website's more than 24 months old, you need to throw it out. You need to write good ads. You need to, research your keywords. There's a bit of work involved in it. But what I'm saying is the actual Google Ads platform is about 25 to 30% cheaper than it was pre-COVID, right? So basically for the same money, you can get 30% more traffic. Or the smart play is, if you had AdWords working for you pre-COVID, then double your spend, right? Because it's cheaper, so you get more ROI. Even if you didn't have AdWords running, you should get on the platform right now because it's basically an auction site for a keyword. So whoever's prepared to pay the most for the traffic will get the traffic. And so because when COVID hit, people pulled their marketing spend, of course, what happens is there's less people bidding for the traffic, which means the price comes down, which means you can come in, offer the most, and have your ads appearing at the top of a Google search literally within 15 minutes of creating an ad. All right, Facebook has gone in 2 different ways. Some traffic is cheaper on some platforms, some is more expensive. Just to drop a little nugget in there, Instagram swipe up ads. All right, you have to go and research what that is. But if you start running story ads on Instagram, we're paying like $5 to $6 for 1,000 impressions of our message. All right, so that you just need to be on there, right? It's a cheap way to broadcast your message to a brand new audience. So marketing has become a whole lot cheaper. And by the way, if you the reason why I say it doesn't matter how much budget you've got, you could be sitting there today and you've got an extra $200 to spend per month on marketing, get it into AdWords because it's 30% cheaper, for example, right? So you can take advantage of that regardless of where you are today. The second place you should look to is your team or increasing your team. Right? Getting people to work for you now is cheaper and easier than ever before. Now, let me put that in brackets. I understand that some industries will find it hard to get people to come to work because of the stimulus, right? JobKeeper, job seeker, those things have made a real difference. I guess I'm maybe not talking about, if we're talking about low-skilled labor, that's still a bit of a challenge because they don't really have a real big reason to get up and go to work. So just kind of put those in a group for a minute. I guess I mean, if you're looking for people to add to your team in a skilled labor or the kind of role that actually takes some smarts, those people didn't just quit work and go surfing every day. Those people are still looking to better themselves. But of course, what happened? A lot of them got put off. A lot of them got put on furlough. A lot of them got put on half wages. And so right now, there is a really big talent pool that you can go and grab, and you can get them easier than you've ever been able to, but you can also get them cheaper than you've ever been able to, right? There were people pre-COVID who might be in a $100,000 role that right now you could employ for 75,000 because they would rather take 75,000 than be out of work. Okay, and maybe you still need to get them back to 100,000, but you can get them cheaper today. Right? So everybody wins. You win because you can get it. You know, if you only had a budget of 75,000 to put somebody on, you can get $100,000 higher now for 75,000. Right? So you win. The person that picks up a job wins because now they've got 75,000 to feed their family. The economy wins. They get dignity. Like the whole thing is a win-win, no matter how you look at it. Right? So be jumping on a seek. Now, team takes lots of forms. It could be as simple as jumping onto Upwork, upwork.com, upwork.com, and finding somebody from the global pool. It could be that you put somebody on at $10 an hour who works for you in the Philippines. That's a great idea, right? That person takes some of the tasks off you to make you more productive so that you can grow the business. That would be a good idea. It could be a part-timer, it could be a full-timer, it could be an intern, it could be whatever. Like, there is an opportunity that presents itself now where all of those are looking for work, okay? And so you should be capitalizing this. And I fully believe, separate to this topic, I fully believe that we should always be looking to hire. You should always be asking yourself, who is the next hire in my company, right? And then, because then your radar's on and you're more likely to go find them. So you should always be asking who the next hire is, but it's very strategic to do it now because it's easier and cheaper than it would have been 6 months ago. The third thing you can do if you want to make the most of the opportunities that present themselves is premises, right? It's really interesting right now what has happened, with offices and factories and shops and things like that. Obviously, commercial leasing, it's an absolute bloodbath, right? I walked through Surfer's Parasite the other day, and literally only 1 in 4 shops had a tenant in it, right? Everybody's run away. You go to commercial offices right now, and literally half of them are empty. And that poses a real problem if you're in commercial leasing, but you're on the other end. If you're looking for space, you can now get more space for the same money, or you can move and save. You can negotiate massively with landlords because they need people to fill their spaces, right? Factories, offices, and shops. And so now is the time to jump. You can normally negotiate a much bigger rent-free period. You can normally negotiate bigger fit-out investments if that's where you're at. Either way, now would be the time to consider moving and jumping and I guess future-proofing as we grow out of the back of COVID. I know for us, we actually moved, and for the same money, maybe just a little bit more money, but for the same money in the scheme of things, I managed to find somewhere that's more corporate, that is, that's better to bring people to, that takes me 32 seconds to get to the office in the morning from home, that has a great outlook and just a better environment, right? So we utilize these opportunities that present themselves. Now, I'll tell you what's interesting. The office that I'm in, and the studio is in my office today, this was occupied by a travel agency. Now, I pray God blesses them because they got absolutely smited when COVID hit and they folded up and left. And so here I am, obviously I don't know anything about that company. I just know that's who was here. But then I'm looking around for an office and these guys really wanted somebody to take the space. And so I got a really good deal to be able to step into this office when I was looking, okay? Why? Because they win because they get a tenant. I win because I get a better office than I had before, right? So all these opportunities present themselves. What about this one? Start a new company or product, right? You might start a new product line, whatever. But you can start another company right now. Because team is cheaper to get and a few other things, you can actually just start a brand new company today. Now, should you chase 2 rabbits? Probably not. But sometimes you can start a company that is within the ecosystem of what you currently do. It could be the same audience, similar kind of thing, but you just set up a sideline. And I'm not here to solicit from you today, so I won't tell you what we've got on because I don't want to use this as a platform for gain. I'm here to teach you. But we are spooling up another sideline business on the side. Why? Because it makes total sense. The people are available now because they weren't available. We've got the space to be able to facilitate it. And so we will end up with twice the business, twice the products, twice the leverage, twice the influence out of the back of COVID because of this opportunity, right? So you can actually start another whole business today or the product line that you didn't get around to and so forth. That would be another opportunity that you could spool up in this environment. Number 6, I'm going to do in red because it's my favorite out of them all, is purchase another company. So rather than setting up another business, you could actually go and purchase another one. I guess the way that we would normally say it, right, is to purchase a competitor, although we don't believe in the spirit of competition. You know, the spirit of competition and the kingdom of God do not go hand in hand. They're opposites. You know, like we don't see the other people in our space as competitors. We see them as potentially alliances, but even if we don't want to link arms with them, we are together in an industry growing a sector and expanding a marketplace so that everybody can win. Okay, we're not trying to take out the other people down the road that do something similar to us. That would be bad. So we're not talking about purchasing a competitor, but you could purchase other people in your industry right now. And it doesn't have to be of your industry, of course, but that'd be a natural fit for you to go and buy somebody that also does what you do. So it could be that, or it could be a completely different business that you go and buy. But let me tell you, there's 6 of the people that we work with who right now I am helping them buy out another company, and 5 out of 6 of them are no money down acquisitions. So just think about that, right? 5 out of the 6 of these deals, and the 6th one is not putting in a whole chunk of money. They're vendor financing probably about 50% of it. And some of these deals are only small ones, right? They might be a $100,000 business, but some of them are bigger than that. You know, some of them are, I think the biggest is probably a $800,000 to $900,000 purchase. So still small in the scheme of things. But I guess, you know, this is an opportunity that presents itself all the time, but now more than normal. There's always businesses that you can buy in a good, bad economy. But right now, there is a whole bunch of people who, you know, like if this is their twilight years of business, you know, they've been through Y2K and GFC and now this, there's a lot of people who are thinking, you know, I don't know that I've got it in me to want to keep, you know, like going with this business. Maybe I'll just sell. Some people haven't even thought about it. But you could right now be on the front foot and you could go and start calling the other people in your industry, you know, not like a vulture, but literally just saying, hey, I'm just checking in with you. You know, would you ever consider selling your business, right? That's all you want to know. If they say no, then that'll go nowhere. But many people will be intrigued by it, or they've already had that thought and they would appreciate this call, right? So you can literally just start calling people and saying, hey, have you ever considered selling, and can we have a coffee about it? And you will find that those doors open up, okay? I promise you. Both just because practically people are looking to sell, and in my experience, the Lord loves multiplication. So when, you know, I remember Scott, for example, who's one of our clients on the Central Coast with a cleaning business. We doubled his business with one acquisition, and he paid no money for that business up front. So those kind of deals are happening all the time. Here's the way that we would go and set that up. Remember, we can never do a deal with a party where not everybody gets what they want from the deal. We have to honor, the people involved. All right, they're God's children. They're just as valuable to Him as you are. He's never going to want to lead you into a deal where you fleece them, or you completely trample them. Right. The whole goal here of doing business and taking that culture into the marketplace is so that everybody wins. And so you need to think that through in your. It's the natural entrepreneurial spirit is to go in there and make a deal so that you win and they lose, and push it to as far as you can. That's the system that doesn't work, that is currently all over the world, right? That's why Kingdom Advances exists, because we need to change that culture. But I guess, ultimately, if you can go into a transaction and you can check throughout the journey that they're winning and you're winning, or whoever's involved, and everybody's happy, then you can proceed with a deal. The kind of deals that I'm helping people go through at the moment are we might get a valuation on a business of, let's just use some round numbers. Let's say a business is got a $200,000 a year profit and they want $400,000 for the business, right? Just use some nice round numbers. Well, actually, we would get our own independent valuation to check that $400,000 is correct as a valuation. But ultimately, we could go to those people and say, hey, listen, I'll pay you the full asking price of $400,000, but I actually need to pay this thing off over a period of 2.5 to 3 years. Or I'll buy it from you today, but I need to buy it at a much lower number because this is all the capital I've got. Or I can give you the full asking price, but I need 3 years to buy it. And then basically, there's a lot of nuances in how you do this, but ultimately, you're able to take the profit from that business and hand it back to the owner of that business over a 2 to 3 year window. And then at the end of that time, hopefully you've made some more in the meantime, grown the business, but you get the asset for free. Right? All it takes is to put your entrepreneurial hat on and run a company for a couple of years, and and you're able to acquire these businesses, put them into your asset holding, whatever. They become cash cows for the rest of time, and you didn't have to buy them. Right? That is probably one of the greatest opportunities that presents itself today. All right? But these deals don't come knocking on your door. They probably don't at the start of this journey. When you build a bigger business and you're more influential and people know you, then they tend to find you. But at the start of the journey, just start ringing the people you know. Hey, Bob, Wes here. Listen, have you ever considered selling your business? And is that something that intrigues you to have coffee over? You just ring everybody and have that conversation. You'll get people that say, actually, yes, I have thought that, or yes, I would like to sell it, or that intrigues me. And you just put them through a process. But ultimately, what is entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is growing a business, right? It's, we want bigger assets. We want, more employees. We want bigger cash flows and bigger profits. Why? Not for ourselves, right? We only need a certain amount. We do all of that so that we can use we can fund our churches, we can fund strategic projects, we can increase in influence in our little world. And then we can use money to advance the kingdom, and we can use our influence to advance the kingdom with the people around us, right? But you will do that by, through acquisition faster than you'll do that through organic growth, right? So right now, that is one of the greatest opportunities that presents itself. And it doesn't matter to me whether we're talking about doing $1 million acquisition or a $30,000 acquisition paid for at the end of 1 year. Either way, all right, you should really start to put that part of your brain on so that you can spot the opportunities that come, because they are absolutely wonderful. And the last area that you want to go and look at, obviously, in terms of acquiring assets and acquiring cash flows and things like that, would be investment properties. All right, and then I'm going to call it stocks, although I need to give this a little bit of a caveat. I wouldn't advocate you guys going out into the capital markets and buying stocks. I just want to put it on your radar. I'm not suggesting it's the best strategy for you. I'm suggesting you should go away and sit down with your financial advisors or your smart people and sit with them and say, is this an opportunity for me and one that I should possibly take? It's definitely one that I'm doing, right, with the investment property side of things. Why? Just because I always like to use cash flow to buy real assets. I like to have real assets behind me. So I'm always on the hunt for these. I'm not too big into the stocks, but I would say to you that some of the most stable businesses in Australia and around the world are currently discounted, and so I'm not going to give you any industries, because then you run the risk of going out there and taking my word for it. But some of the most stable, strongest industries in the world, that are listed companies, those companies are actually discounted on the capital markets, and you could possibly buy in and you could get a dividend off them for the next 20 years and see them, return back to the price they were and beyond. And then that would be a great aspect of the transfer of wealth. Obviously, something that you can do as a result of the pandemic that has hit us. So I guess, 7 areas. You should probably be pushing into multiple of these as you sit there today, right? Because you can do multiple at one time. You can spend that little bit more on marketing and take advantage of the fact that these platforms are cheaper. You can start adding people to your headcount in your business, even if it's getting a return to work mum who has who's had years out of the workforce because they're having babies, and you bring them in for a few hours, or a part-timer or a casual or a teen, whatever. Like these people are looking for jobs right now, and you can get them. whether you're going to move premises or start another company, you should start pushing into these. If I was to line up all of my friends who we would call successful kingdom entrepreneurs, men and women, they didn't get there because everything fell in their lap, right? And so these strategies, you have to go and push those doors. There will either be a grace on them or there won't, but you have to still get up and push those doors to see what is on the other side. And let me tell you, the knowledge that you'll get by stepping into these is really, really valuable. But the bigger business that you get from doing all of these is even better. As entrepreneurs, it's easy to get bored. It can be so routine, this business thing, right? I don't know about you, but I don't do boredom very well at all. And I think COVID has probably expedited for people that feeling of boredom and maybe even helplessness to some degree, because you felt like the rug was pulled out from underneath you. And it was. Those feelings are real. What I'm talking about here, though, is actually dusting yourself off, putting your entrepreneur's hat back on and deciding, I get to control my destiny. I get to control whether I walk out my assignment. I get to control how big I grow my business. And what it does is it puts you back in the saddle and says, right, I am going to take responsibility for growing my businesses. And these are the areas that I would go and look to if I were you, that I think will be the areas that give you, I guess it's effort, but a large reward for effort. Organic growth is fine, but I think it will become boring after a while. And so what this does, it allows you to move away from organic growth, and get into multiplication and quantum. And let me just tell you, I just think that's better for us as entrepreneurs. It's more exciting. It's more on the edge. It gives you a much bigger payday. And all of that means that you should probably go and do it. Before we finish, I wrote a couple of books. And so I just want to kind of make those known to you guys today. The first book I wrote was called Supernatural Business. And this is about 12 practical strategies for bigger profits and bigger influence. And then I wrote a book called Supernatural Thinking, which is, so the session that I did a little bit earlier was a small portion of this book, kind of taught a little bit differently. But ultimately, you can go and check those out, right? You can go to Business Greenhouse, that's our organization, businessgreenhouse.com.au/books, and you can go and see if they will add value to your entrepreneurial journey.
No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck. But first I tell them run it off.